Alright then, welcome back to the channel, Stephen Howson. 5 things time, and it's 5 things INEOS must fix. You're sitting there going, Steve, there's more than 5 things. Okay, but maybe we'll get to them in more videos. Here's 5 things that we can think of right now. Now, as we know, United are broken, and at this point, it's getting a bit old saying it, I'm going to be honest with you. And the problems seem to worsen by the day. Not just got a running tally, we're in the 120 plus days at the moment of something going west for Manchester United. We are out of the statements every single day kind of phase, but we're still in the things aren't exactly going right. And as Ralf Rangnick said notoriously that United need open heart surgery, well, he was right, and the surgeons are assembling. Sir Jim Ratcliffe team do have a golden opportunity to conduct the surgery themselves. Let's get into it and let's see exactly what it is they need to be fixing. In at number 1. Now, actually, I'm going to roll back. There seems to be a mechanism, if my reading of the documents that have come out is correct, that there is a possibility within 18 months that the Glazers will be gone. There is an agreed share price and a mechanism for Jim Ratcliffe to take full ownership of the club. There's also a mechanism that if he doesn't take full ownership of the club within that time, then the Glazers can kick him out, essentially. And he has to sell the shares back to them. Now, that's an interesting point that we find ourselves in. And it shows us the first thing that's going to have to go. Now, this won't be the first thing that gets fixed because of the way everything is. But the first thing that has to be changed, or the most important thing, it won't be the first thing, but it's the most important thing, is the debt. Clear the debt, clear the debt, clear the debt. Now, there's no point even trying to get this looked at completely because of the sheer value of it. And until INEOS secure 100% of the club, this is probably not going to become resolved. But there is an opportunity there. There is a huge opportunity for INEOS to win over every United fan in the world by going, boom, the debt is gone, and giving us a clean slate to work from. The debt has siphoned off somewhere between 1.5 and 1.7 billion. Now, the Glazers have been here 18 years. So that's roughly 100 million a season. Now, that right now would buy you a world-class player. But back in 2005, that would sign you 4 world-class players. Just think of where we could have been with the sort of money that's been wasted only on the debt. And why are we in debt? Oh, we got a new shiny... No, we didn't get a new shiny stadium. Oh, we did invest it into the... No, they didn't actually invest it into the football team. We still owe that, by the way. That's still... That credit card bill's still there on the side. We ain't paid it yet. Well, they upgraded the train. No, they didn't. It's literally because they're our owners. So if INEOS are going to be different to the Glazers and be seen as different to the Glazers, they've got to do things different to the Glazers. Taking the debt out of the picture would be the most impactful thing that they could do. So Jim knows it's a problem. And you can tell by the proud zero debt declaration that INEOS made in their statement of the takeover, they see something to be done there. Number 2, identify the cracks and plug the gaps. Now, without that mentality, United aren't going nowhere. But INEOS have to be prepared to start fixing the problems. They've bought this. They've not just gone and got a nice new shiny car off a forecourt. They know they've bought something that scraped through its MOT here. They know that they're going to have to pour money into this to get it roadworthy. So this football club, and any football club actually, is unpredictable, but it brings an unlimited number of pros and cons, and INEOS are going to have to be aware of both of those things. If you look at the Mason Greenwood situation, could not have been predicted by any businessman. That's a £100 million asset that has to be removed from a football club, and things like that can and do happen. If Paul Pogba would have still been on our books when he's just failed his drug test that he's just had, that would have been a £100 million asset that no longer plays for the football club. These things happen in sport. You are dealing with 25 professional footballers that are all off doing absolute carnage at all times. There's an unlimited number of things that can happen to those assets, which cause them to be a fucking nightmare for the football club or the PR or anything. So if we want to become a serious footballing club that is a threat on the pitch, again, because that has to be the most important thing. Fuck the marketing off, no one cares, right? The marketing will come second. Manchester City's shown us that. You can't be sitting there twiddling your thumbs waiting for the world to go by anymore. You've got to be proactive and you've got to go and be ready for anything. You've got to identify any potential threats and issues before they become issues. It's a process that Manchester City have done flawlessly in recent years, especially in the transfer market. You know, we went through the United team the other day. You can look at this squad right now on paper and say, okay, Casemiro will need replacing. Whether it's in January now, in summer, or next year, he will need replacing at some stage in the very near future. The same can be said for Varane. The same can be said for Luke Shaw. You know, and those are just a handful of the players. The same can be said for Bruno in a few years. You know, that might not be as quick as a Casemiro, but it's coming. You know, you've got to prepare for the future. Someone needs to be thinking about, okay, is this an investment for 5 years? Rasmus Højlund, is he an investment for 5 years? Okay, well, let's justify the big price tag on him. If he wasn't, like Casemiro, because there was a similar price, was Casemiro a 5-year player? He wasn't. So who the fuck sanctioned that? You know, that's what we've got to get out of. The short-termism has to be replaced by long-term strategy and planning. You do that, you'll be fine. You know, you see City will rid themselves of a player where you go, really? Now, I wasn't overly asked when they got rid of Gabriel Jesus or Zinchenko, but Arsenal have benefited from that in a big way because they were still really good players. Manchester City have pushed on, won a treble and developed because of moving those players on and getting good value for them because they've got them at a time when they're seen as like fringe first-team players that are pretty useful rather than completely done and dusted like we've got with Sancho or Martial or some of the others like Donny van de Beek in our squad at the moment. That allows them to go and bring in other players. And it's not just Zinchenko and Jesus. They've allowed Sterling, Laporte, Gundogan, who was one of their key players on the title running last season. Yeah, no problem. Bring more players in. We need to start doing that. We need to have day-to-day lift the floor of the team. You don't make a team better by buying better players for the front end. You make a team better by eliminating your weaknesses, by lifting the bottom of who's the one that's going to make mistakes. Okay, can we get a better player in than him? Okay, now who's the weakness in the team? Just keep eliminating the weaknesses in your team. You end up with a strong team. Number 3, football brains in football positions. And people are going to go, wait a minute, Dave Brailsford. Now, Dave Brailsford comes with a wealth of sports knowledge. It's not necessarily specific sports knowledge, but it is sports knowledge. And running a football club isn't linear. What we want to see happen with the likes of Dave Brailsford is him to be brought in to maximize people in the right positions. So he doesn't necessarily need to have a fucking UEFA A license to be able to recognize that things can be done better. You know, he is a sporting brain that is undoubtedly one of the world's undisputed best. You bring in like Paul Mitchell, that is a football brain. You bring in Dan Ashworth, you bring in those guaranteed future successes by bringing those players in. You know, making 1% improvements is what Brailsford is all about. And those 1% improvements start adding up when you do them in 15 different areas. You get that right. So what you do by appointing the likes of Dave Brailsford is you appoint someone that's got the forward thinking to find the Paul Mitchells and to find the Dan Ashworths. He's not the one rolling his sleeves up and grabbing hold of a spanner and fixing things. He's the guy that goes and gets the guy that knows how to fix these things. He isn't a banker. He isn't a guy that goes, well, what's our fourth quarter showing? He doesn't give a fuck about that shit. He goes, how do I win shit? There's a great clip from, I think he's talking with Steve Bartlett on the Diary of a CEO podcast. And he fucking, God, he just said how much he was embarrassed at not winning. Like, he gets upset at not winning stuff. He's a fucking competitor. That's what you want. Someone who's just a winner at all costs, savage. And he will find who can bring people in. Sorted. Number 4, media leaks. Now, one of the biggest gripes in modern football, and it's particularly bad as a United fan because this shit happens constantly. And as we've seen in recent times, not all of it has been true either. It's just been, plucked out of someone's bumhole. Now, the media leaks are frustrating. And it feels like every day we see a new toxic Manchester United report from the same toxic journalism sources, some of which have been proven to be, made up. The leaks often come from within the dressing room. Now, I'm not sure that's true. And I think the recent instances have shown us that it certainly isn't as true as the journalists would have lead you to believe. Either way, if there's an element of truth to it, it has to stop. The bad eggs have to go. Simple as that. Anyone, did you talk to the press? Yeah, bye. See you in a bit. Now, it's very obvious that there are some players that have got some journalists' phone numbers, because there's stories that come out from those players to those journalists. That's got to stop. Root them out, shut them up. So Alex Ferguson, it's either in Leading or his autobiography, it's in one of those two books, he talks about how there was stories getting to a journalist that lived in Alderley Edge. So he pulled in all of the players who lived in Alderley Edge and was like, hey, guess what, fuckers? You lot are all getting fucked off unless them stories stop. I'm not saying it's you, or you, but those stories stop or you lot are in the shit. And the story stopped. That's fucking genius. You know, like, in the advent of mobile phones, you don't need to live in the same fucking village as someone for that news to get out. I can get hold of Fabrizio Romano right now. I don't live in Milan. So maybe it's a little bit more difficult in 2024. But the bottom line is quite clear. You can, maybe you sit people down in little team groups and you give slightly different information to each and you see which one finds its way out. I think that's a good move. There's always a way to find out who the leaks are. And it's simple as that. Or you go and fucking ask the journalist who's writing these reports, hey, guess what, fuckface? You're not coming back in here until you tell me which player is talking to you. Okay? And you can tell me off the record, and you can tell me on the record. It's entirely up to you, but you're not fucking coming back in here until you tell me who's feeding you this bullshit. And see if it stops. Press conferences are your fucking domain, the club's domain. You do not have to allow anybody in. You are a private business, and there is no fucking requirement whatsoever from the rules for you to allow in specific journalists. I think you have to allow specific outlets. Like if it's on Sky, then Sky gets, press conference access for that game, or if the game's broadcast on whatever, then the broadcasters have a right. But that doesn't mean any particular journalist, nope, he's banned, send somebody else. Then you're within the rules. Start doing it. Start banning them. Last time I said this, they fucking banned someone 24 hours later. I love that shit. Anyway, number 5, unity. Now that's something that can't be manufactured, and it's going to take time, and it might take winning stuff, it might take fucking all sorts, but I do think it requires a statement to be made from INEOS, from Dave Brailsford, from Sir Jim, from whoever the fucking football department is, publicly, privately, or both, to come out and say, Ten Hag is our man and we stick in behind him. Now, if he's not your man, then fuck him off and bring your new man in. But don't let the players' confidence grow that they might be able to outlast this manager. Don't let the doubts grow in Erik Ten Hag, because that's not going to lead to the absolute best performances that we could stand. Tell him you're our fucking man, if he's your man. And if he's your man, then you back him. And you tell everyone, listen, results haven't gone to plan this season. This is a big project and it's a multi-year project and we will get it right in the end, and this is our guy. And then everybody goes, okay. Players who want to come and sign and play for him will come and sign and play for him, and those who don't, won't. And fuck them. That's what we need to be. It's all in, all pushing in the same fucking direction. Do that and you'll be a success. All right? Sound. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.